Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Comics Kings. This is Brandon, and happy Memorial Day to everybody. Hope you guys celebrating with your families. Thank you guys so much for being here for Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame. We've taken a few weeks off due to some kids in school. Actually, Ryan's in school, and I don't want to do the whole show without him because he is very important to the show. And without Ryan, there is no Chad. So I didn't want to do the show by myself. This is the show for the three of us every Monday. So we wanted to take a little bit of a break in our lives together and then come at you guys hard with this awesome episode. We're going to be doing a Memorial Day special. We're going to be talking about Amazing Spider-Man 574, which is the origin of Flash Thompson and how he lost his legs later to become Agent Venom. And we're going to be comparing that to Superman Year One, Number 2, which is Superman joining the Navy. If you guys have something to say, drop it down in the chat and you will forever be on the show. We got a couple people in the chat. We got Rudy. What is going on? Rudy the man. We got Jen. How are you doing today? We got Manny Station, my friend. Station, how are you doing, my friend? We got Missing Link in here. Station, sir. Good to see you guys here. Hope everyone did have a good Memorial Day. And if you guys know the show, Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame. If you guys are new to the show, no, John, we're not triggering anyone today. Maybe not, maybe Ryan, but
wait and see.
Boom, brother Joe is in here, and Rudy, I believe it is still in the mail. I believe it's still in transit. But I will let you know when it comes. But yeah, exactly. Like today's not the day we're triggering people. I know sometimes on the show we do have our hot takes. So if you guys do take offense to it, it's comics. I'm sure you can regenerate those feelings. Like everything.
Absolutely.
Comics,
and today, usually it's about triggering people, and our Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame is basically about our hot takes between two issues. Sometimes hot takes, sometimes not. But today's show is mostly just dedicated to those who have served, are currently serving, and those who have unfortunately not made it home from serving. Today's a really it's a very special day to remember and everything. And we just Brandon and I were talking about what issues we wanted to do on this Monday because again we had said as Brandon said there's been a lot of stuff just with me and finals, and just it's been a busy time for everybody, and we wanted to come back on this holiday and just give thanks to those who we probably wouldn't be sitting here without. So
right, well, 100%. And a lot of times, a lot of our feelings, a lot of our life is reflected in comics as well. So I know that there are people who can relate to these two issues. So I did want to take the chance to really go over them. Both these issues are very good with great creative teams behind it. Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame, of course, is just separating which one is better, which one isn't as strong.
Exactly.
So amen to that. Cheers. Let's get this show on the road. Let's dive into 574. I'm gonna butcher this name. It's by Mark Guggenheim.
There you go.
Perfect. Oh, sweet. Look at me go today. And the pencils by Barry Kitson, who did a lot of good work on Legion of Superheroes with Mark Waid. A very, very great writer. All right, so Flash has already lost his legs, and he is getting the Medal of Honor. So he's being interviewed, and he gets a gift in the mail from Peter Parker, sent him an iPod. So that kind of tells you the time and day that this story is being set in. Guys, I'm sorry, there is no slideshow today, mostly because I usually try to do it the Monday of because I had the day off, but I had a really bad headache today. So
yeah.
So one of his officers is interviewing him about how he got his name Flash, everything like about his life to make him who he is today, and how Spider-Man had that role in his life, even though he basically bullied Spider-Man. Yeah. Wow. An iPod. I know. Totally 2005. Where did that come from?
Yeah, it was. He was still listening to, he's in the military hospital listening to Billy Joel on his iPod.
Hey, you know what? Billy Joel is a fantastic artist, guys.
No, I'm just saying.
Legend. Right, so we know about how he got the name Flash, high school football with all the babes, all the girls that he got there, and then he went to a full ride.
He says it's high school football.
Yeah, he says it's high school football. And then he's like, I got a full ride to Empire State University, but I dropped out and I had to join the military. And then he's really not happy with where he is right now, which is totally fitting because he just lost both of his legs and he's on the hospital bed. He's unable to walk, and like his life, he thinks his life is over, right? Because he just dedicated his life, basically the rest of it, in his opinion.
But the thing about that is, like, yeah, he seemed bummed, but he seemed, you guys can correct me on this, but just like the way he didn't explicitly say his feelings, which was great because the audience is a little smarter than a third grader. He doesn't have to outright say how he's feeling, but I took it as like, and a lot of soldiers feel this too. Yeah, he of course he's going to be, he's bummed that he lost his legs, but he was actually like felt, I don't really know how to put it, but like he did his duty and some sort of pride.
So he kind of feels like that relief, that pride.
Yeah, exactly.
And this wasn't exactly stated in the book, but like he was retconning a lot of how he is motivated every day because of Spider-Man. He almost felt like he was Spider-Man in this situation. So I thought that was really cool.
That was handled fantastically,
right?
With they essentially, I'm sure Brandon will get to it, but he comes up against 6 opponents, and then he's like 6-1. That's good. That's bad odds. The guy who's interviewing him, and then it flashes a picture of Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six. And Flash is like, he basically says, it's bad odds, but it's not impossible. I've seen somebody do it before. So like we see that, Spider-Man inspires Flash that he can take on anything.
Right.
I thought this kind of flashbacks were more cheesy than they were interesting. For me, they like I was digging the main story, and Flash is sharing this combat experience. And it's like everything that happens, he's like, oh, well, Spider-Man does this. I liked the first one when it was like Spider-Man being strong under the rubble, reference to that iconic moment. But the rest of them, they felt a little bit shoehorned for me. So I didn't enjoy this as much as the rest of the book.
It's supposed to be. They're not going for the cheesy comic reader. There was a good moment. Just appreciate it.
All right.
I think I do have to agree with. For me, I definitely liked it more than Chad. Like I like the Sinister Six stuff. I like some of the other. If This Be My Destiny, that moment. I think the artificial one when he takes the epinephrine and you see the Iron Spider and you need artificial.
I don't need the Iron Spider.
You're stretching it a bit.
That's a stretch.
I think they just put that in there to connect it to what's actually going on in Marvel Comics right now, because this is like almost like at the peak of the Civil War era.
Yeah, this is around Civil War.
So this was written in like 2008.
6,
7.
It was written during the Civil War time. Oh yeah, by the way, you guys, Jen is just reminding everyone to gently caress that like button, Hulk smash the bitch if you guys want to. Or you can also, while you're at it, because right after the like button, there's a subscribe button like right over here as well.
Right after the like button, there's the dislike button.
Yeah, and then if we want to get a little bit patriotic, pretend the bell in the top right is also like the Liberty Bell and give it a ring.
Yes.
That way you'll never miss an episode.
That bell, you hit it so hard.
Yeah, crack it and you'll hear a ding, I promise. And if you don't, then you're doing it wrong and do it again.
Yes.
But thank you, Jen, for the quick little plug there. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And so as he's being interviewed, he's also like, we're talking about his love for Spider-Man, and how he grew up admiring Spider-Man, which is, as we know, Flash was also kind of a bully to Peter Parker. So take that what you will. They later became good friends, and later they would have that moment of Flash apologizing for the years of torment he put Peter through. But in this case, he was like, he created the Spider-Man fan club, and the military guy who's interviewing him, he's like, yeah, you did this. Flash is like, well, how did you know? And he's like, it's the FBI, dude. We know everything.
He's like, you created a club supporting, at best, a vigilante, and at worst, a menace to law and order. And it's like, I thought that was funny.
Right, and then
of course the FBI has a file on you.
Right.
I will say, because modern, you look at like 40s comics, and it's the glorification of the American involvement in the war, in World War II, which was, the morality of World War II was much more simple. We were the good guys, and we were fighting the bad guys. Whereas, we're talking about Flash in Iraq. And we're not here to debate. This isn't about American politics. But the point is the morality is a bit more murky. And I like the subtle hints that Guggenheim put in there of like the FBI thing with the Patriot Act, post 9/11, of like kind of a small critique of the United States government and its actions, but it wasn't in the classic like
it wasn't like solely speaking out against everything.
Yes,
it wasn't
exactly.
It wasn't separating from the story.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't like obnoxiously in your face, but it was just like, this is stuff that's going on in America that we're going to subtly bring up that you can interpret whether it's good or bad, as opposed to here's something the government's doing and it's bad and I'm portraying it as bad in my fictional, comic universe. So I appreciate
100%,
that.
100%. The art is very solid as we were going through Iraq. I feel like Barry Kitson has a good sense of the setting in there and a good sense of like what's going on. So of course, like they're I don't want to say of course, but they're fighting a terrorist organization, and it's just like completely taking them down. And Flash ends up saving one of his partners from a booby trap. And he gets under the rubble, so it's up to Flash really to save him, right? Retconning to the 6-1 odds, and in doing that, his legs get like completely shot, and he's losing an immense amount of blood. So yeah, he saves his partner, but his legs are losing so much blood to the point where they amputate it.
Yes.
At the end.
Mm-hmm. Something I found incredibly cool, just like a parallel between the two. Obviously, both Superman and Flash Thompson are in a combat situation in these two issues, and there is some sort of explosion. And if you look at it, Marvel Comics, the human comics about mortals dealing with their powers and the curses of them. We see an explosion in ASM 574. And it's brutal, Flash Thompson's partner, gets absolutely, he gets effed up. Flash gets effed up. It's very, it's jarring. It's brutal. And obviously there's no blood because, Marvel, but like, there was, you could feel the impact and it felt almost real. Whereas, in DC Comics and especially Superman stories, there's an explosion. And Superman, deals with it like it's nothing. So, comparing the two, where this one explosion in the ASM book completely shatters two lives of it, essentially. Whereas this explosion in the Superman book, 2 panels later, they forget about it. So It was really interesting.
Yeah, they did a really good job handling like how crazy and hectic war is. There's that one panel of right after they get out of the Striker, the armored car. They get ambushed by a group of insurgents, and that scene, there's explosions going on in the background. There's the gunfire. It's chaos over the radio. They're shooting at targets that they can't really see all that well. The art is just it just is a very solid depiction of the chaotic nature of warfare.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And especially like in times today, we see a lot of the news. There's a lot we don't understand. I think like what really shocked the world were the Pentagon Papers that came out post the war of Vietnam, which that like completely shocked a lot of people. For those of you who are into history or who lived through that time. I remember reading through that, and it was just like completely like, this is actually what happened. It's very traumatizing.
Well, even I completely agree. And even you look at Nam, the reason Nam was incredibly unpopular, there was many reasons, but one of the main reasons is television. And it's crazy to think that television would make a war fought in Southeast Asia unpopular, but it out of sight, out of mind. You can think about, the American boys in Korea and in the South Pacific fighting, the Japanese and the North Koreans, and you're like, oh, whatever, we're fighting for this altruistic cause and whatever, and I don't really see it. It's out of sight, whatever. But you see the horrors of war in front of you in the wholesome American family home, you're much less likely to support it. And Chad's absolutely right. That panel, I think one of the best creative choices in the entire book was the bullet fire almost seemed like a laser rather than just one bullet in the air, which shows like these things are metal balls and metal, pens that can just rip straight through you. And it's not at one moment in time. It's here. It's a line. So like if you're in that line at any point, you're going to get hit. And there were two like converging bullets, which felt like you were just getting pincered in, and it was so chaotic.
That was an incredibly wonderful artistic choice to make the reader feel claustrophobic. There's a soldier in there who's zigzagging almost between the bullet paths, and it just has a wonderful way of just putting you in that moment, of putting you in those soldiers' shoes as they're under fire.
Right.
And interesting enough, when we're speaking about Vietnam, Flash Thompson, when he originally joined the military, he was in Vietnam in original continuity. And Marvel Comics, throughout Marvel Comics, they have, the Punisher. He was originally a soldier in Vietnam. Now, in his modern take, he is a soldier during the modern War on Terror. And so it's kind of funny how Vietnam and the War on Terror have kind of been used almost the same.
They like interchangeably.
Yeah, interchangeably in terms of these heroes' origin stories, and like the way that war and both of those wars impacted the greater Marvel universe.
Right. And then Flash has always been a character that we've kind of felt a little bit different. Like it could go either way with him, Sometimes he's like really good moments, and sometimes like obviously when he's like back in New York, we're not exactly a fan. This was one of the more seminal issues for the Flash character. And what we know today, obviously, this was a setting stone for Agent Venom, but this story is, you can read this without knowing any continuity.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very standalone story, which I really appreciate. I really appreciate how the writer and artist are telling the story to make it feel very dense, to make it feel very impactful, and they're trying to get you like a little bit of a glimpse
and I think
what's going on. What is going on? Flash by night. Boo, what's going out? Roscoe! I love that guy.
And I think Brandon, he hit the nail on the head. This, obviously, I was 4 when this came out, 5. I was not reading Spider-Man when it came out. I'm still not reading Spider-Man now. But the point is for good reason, by the way. But the point is it is a perfect Memorial Day issue. It shows the horror of war, and it shows the aftermath of war, and it shows why it basically shows in this one book why this day exists. Mm-hmm. Right? These people, they go through this horrific events. The entire book is a horror show of just claustrophobic, nightmarish, fearing for your life action. And we see the aftermath of that. Flash Thompson. That bully, Joe Manganiello, who almost beats up Peter Parker in the freaking first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. He loses his legs in Iraq. This issue exists because it's a perfect standalone story to show, all right, this is why we need to honor and remember and respect those who have served, because they have given up so much for us. All 3 of us sitting here in the United States of America have all been directly impacted by people like Flash Thompson in Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, Korea, World War II, World War I, all of those.
Right. And of course, at the end of this issue, like they always have to tie it back to what's going on with Spider-Man in that connection, right? As much as like that was the only part I didn't necessarily like, was there is to me a little too much Spider-Man. Like you understand that Flash is very connected to to Spider-Man. I don't want to say Peter Parker because right now they don't know that about each other. What's up, Bobby? How you doing, bro? Station. But I feel like the ending was so like, oh, it's a Spider-Man book. At the end of the day, it's a Spider-Man book. Boom, here he is.
Yeah.
But I was like, we could have kept it as is. We know that Flash's motives are for Spider-Man. That was a theme throughout the whole book, and Spider-Man has really inspired him in so many ways. And I just think that ending was a little bit over the top, just linking them two together. And so, but nonetheless, it's still a very powerful issue. So I really recommend that if you guys have that Marvel Unlimited app, Amazing Spider-Man 574. If you guys, Cryo Prime in here, boom, station, sir. And if you guys do want to hunt this book down, I highly recommend reading it as well. It's a very, I don't want to say it's a very reasonable price for a key. And if Spider-Man is getting the continuous hype, obviously we're going to see more of the Flash role. So it might be something you want to look forward to down the road for you key collectors out there. But really, guys, you get this book, crack it open, and just pay those respects. It's one of the more powerful reads in comics in a Spider-Man book, especially from a character like Flash.
I think it's the perfect book you can read on Memorial Day, quite frankly.
100%.
And I will agree with Brandon, just really quickly. This issue would have been much more powerful if Spider-Man wasn't in it at all. If the only mention we got was that little card from Peter about the iPod. I think that would have been
perfect. That would have been perfect.
The card and maybe one flashback to
like the Sinister Six would have been fine.
Exactly, the Sinister Six.
It would be my destiny.
Him being under the building, though, like just because they did it a bunch of times, and then like with the advanced suit, with the Iron Spider suit, where he's like. It just got a little over the top, and it just kind of pulled you out of it because they were telling this really tight knit war story, and then they were just shoehorning Spider-Man a little bit too much. But I mean, the Flash Thompson character deserves the focus, and I feel like they were taking the focus away from Flash when they didn't have to. They could have just left it where this whole story is about Flash, because Flash is one of the more interesting Spider-Man side characters. I mean, he's this guy who's Peter's bully, and he always harps on Peter, but then he honors and really respects Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man actually inspires Flash to become a hero and not just a bully as well. And so, like, to kind of, I understand that they were trying to make the connection, and because it is the Amazing Spider-Man book, but they didn't need to, and the books would have been a little better if they had just left it purely Flash Thompson.
100%. What's going on, Steve? Boom. And we got a couple more people in the chat today, so I just want to give a quick little reminder. Make sure you guys hit the like. It really goes a long way. We got Comics and Pops. We got Team Nerdherd coming in at the same time. This is like a takeover. Make sure you guys hit that like. Give it a nice thumbs up. Click the notification bell. Sub to the channel if you're not already. To catch the replay, thank you guys so much. And be sure to comment your thoughts below on who should win Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame, Amazing Spider-Man 574, or Superman Year 1 Issue 2, that we're going to get into in a little bit. Memorial Day, so make sure you guys are spending that with your family, taking the time to honor the people that have put you in this world today, and all the people that are out serving the country, or who have in the past, because it's really something important that we should all be doing on a daily basis. Absolutely. We shouldn't just wait for a holiday to do that. So make sure every day you're keeping that in the back of your head, not taking anything for granted, right? It's a comic show, but it's also a very serious topic,
every day's Earth Day. Every day's Memorial Day.
100%. But yeah, we have. And also a quick little house cleaning, because we do have a lot of people here, and I know that at the end of the video, when I do say it's time for house cleaning, everyone leaves. So I'm gonna say it right now, so you guys can stay for a little bit. This Sunday, tomorrow, I'm gonna be over on Jen Comic Will Break Your Heart, her channel. We're gonna be continuing our indie deep dive series. We're gonna be talking about We Only Find Them When We're Dead by Al Ewing. It's a great story. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to be co-hosting the Tomorrow Show with this guy right over here. So you guys all know Tomorrow Cinema. That's going to be at 9 Eastern on his channel, or 8:30 Eastern, one of the two. And then I'll figure that out with him. And then on Thursday, it's Tag Team Thursday. I already know the topic that I already have in mind. Since it is Pride Month, I'm going to kick it off with Pride. Kind of acknowledging some of the heroes in Pride. I'm going to do that for the 15-minute segment that I have. And then on Friday, weekly wrap up, Bryce, and then I think Danny's going to be joining. Dan will be joining that day. And then Saturday, I'm off. Sunday, legend Bob Layton will be on the show, and that is super exciting. So if you guys don't know who that is, rewatch all the Iron Man movies, watch Ant-Man. He co-created Scott Lang. He wrote Demon in a Bottle, which is one of the most inspiring stories in comics today. And it co-created War Machine as well, Huntress from the DC Universe, and is one of the co-founders of Valiant Comics. So, someone did, Team Nerdherd, I believe, did a Layla Star review. So definitely go check that out. But let's talk about some Superman Year 1 Issue 2.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Superman Year One. It's not in the main continuity. I think it was a part of Black Label. I
Yeah.
think DC's Black. Yeah, so it's kind of like this alternate take on Superman's origin and his comeuppance. It's written by the legendary Frank Miller, who's written such things as Daredevil Born Again. He had his seminal run on Daredevil. He did Batman Year One. He did The Dark Knight Returns. So, I mean, for Frank Miller to write Batman Year One, it makes sense that he would also do a Superman Year One story. However, this time he kind of
most importantly, he wrote Daredevil.
He did exactly. He had that. His Daredevil is just chef's kiss. He did such a great job. No matter what Frank Miller does, personally and professionally, I will always respect and love him for what he did for Daredevil.
Yes,
from the bottom of my heart, it's his Daredevil run. It's incredible. He invented the character, invented the modern take on the character. He did Born Again, which is just I cry every time I read it.
It really is fantastic. But Chad's absolutely right.
We're throwing kisses out here. And we haven't even talked about Elektra yet, and that's the real one who I want to kiss. But that's a different story.
Do not get me started about Chad has barred me from speaking about Elektra on our channel. He literally said, Ryan, you need to stop talking about Elektra.
What is wrong with this show? What is wrong
I've mentioned the cover to Daredevil number 30 in every conversation Chad and I have had for the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Ryan, you have to be quiet. Because we have someone in the chat by the name of Big Herb. What is up, Herb Station? Every time Herb is in a chat, he gets his own big old recognition. But yeah, let's continue, guys. This is not the Daredevil show. You guys can tune into Running with the Devil, which was this past Saturday with me and Dan. We did talk about issues 168 through issues 182, so that was a lot of fun as well. But yeah, we got Herb. We got Herb in the chat. Yeah, I'm happy now. I'm complete. Let's talk about Superman.
Yes, so Chad is absolutely right. Frank Miller is undeniably a legend. Him and Alan Moore created modern comics, basically single-handedly.
Yeah.
But what we have to mention when we talk about Superman Year One is Batman Year One was written in 1986. Peak Frank Miller. This was in the last 10 years. Obviously it was, but sooner than 10 years, but I'm saying within the last 10 years, we are at current Frank Miller. And he is very, very different. Whereas some writers, have been writing since the 80s and they still got it. Current Frank Miller is significantly different. And I don't think I'm offending anyone here. Significantly worse than he was.
I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. He's batshit crazy. He wrote Holy Terror, which we'll definitely talk about later when we talk about the military in this. Holy Terror is written after 9/11. Batshit crazy. The Dark Knight Strikes Again, batshit crazy. His newest book,
is that pun intended? Batshit
crazy.
But he wrote The Golden Child, which sees Donald Trump in the Black Label universe, which sees Donald Trump team up with Joker and the Darkseid to take over the city, and Darkseid is concerned with the city. But the point is Frank Miller's batshit crazy, and his new stuff is shit. But
he's a legend, guys. Frank Miller's a legend.
Undeniable legend.
He will always be a legend.
Entrepreneurs of the way comics are defined today. He is the master of space. He is without Frank Miller, there is no Jim Lee's Hush, because Jim Lee took a straight inspiration from Frank Miller's Daredevil. We're not saying he's a shit writer. We're saying he's not what he was.
Yes. And I'll give you even more credit than Batman Hush. I say this to Chad all the time. Every single comic book you have ever read post 1986 has been influenced by Frank Miller. Frank
Miller's an absolute legend, guys. He is.
Yes,
absolutely. To write seminal works on Daredevil and Batman, who are known, Batman and Daredevil are known to have very seminal runs. They are probably the two characters where you can just find bang, bang, boom, 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 like Hall of Fame writers out the wazoo on, and to separate yourself in those categories is phenomenal.
he wrote the two best books.
Oh no, Steve, I'm messing with Ryan now because I don't want the Frank Miller shit show to be on today. That's for 2 weeks, so we got to keep that railed. Okay.
He's written the two best books for the characters with the two greatest publishing history of all time.
Right. So, well, X-Men, but I'm glad he didn't touch X-Men. I'm actually glad he didn't touch X-Men, but
no one would touch X-Men with a 10-foot pole, homie.
Right, be quiet. Come on. X-Men is a great thing, and Ryan, I swear, if you read X-Men, you will love it. I guarantee.
Right, we're all telling you to read X-Men, and you're like, I don't like X-Men. You're no.
If you're like, so imagine you're, read the X-Men. Oh, where do I have to start? Like 50 fucking years ago.
House of Powers of X was 2 years ago.
Imagine if I was like, imagine if I was like, like if somebody came to me and they're like, oh yeah, I wanted to start reading Daredevil. I can say, oh yeah, you can even start with Chip Zdarsky's run right now. You can start with Wade, Bendis, Miller, whatever. Imagine if I was like, you got to read freaking Bill Everett and Stan Lee's shit back in the day. No, that's ridiculous.
Giant size X-Men #1.
Exactly, and that's why I like Daredevil, and I don't like X-Men. I don't have to start with the fact that
you
I have to
start with House of Powers of X. You can start with.
Yeah, okay, you cannot start with House of X and Powers.
This is not.
We move on. We move on to Superman.
Anyway, this is a Superman. So
this is gonna be a battle, guy. Oh my gosh.
So Superman, year one has a young Clark Kent. He's like around 20 years old. He joins the U.S. Navy, and being Superman, he's not really struggling at all, right? He's watching his fellow recruits, his fellow, seamen get really, really battered and just horror. Like basic training, it's intense in the body because they have to forge you into a weapon, and Superman is just phenomenal. And what's interesting is the one thing that I thought that Frank Miller did really good was it shows Clark Kent being a really good marksman, not because he's a Kryptonian, but because the Kents had a really, really stupid, bad gun that they use on the farm. And so Kent was so used to this like outdated, rusty old rifle that using this modern high-tech pistol was so easy for him. And he ended up getting promoted to SEAL training. That was one of the cooler things because that's not Clark relying on his abilities as a Kryptonian, but just relying on him actually being a good marksman. That was me. Make Ryan read X-Men. Go to Twitter. Let's get on this. But yeah, so
absolutely. Super interesting. I love how dude, JR. I love JR's art, and it's fantastic.
Oh yeah,
it was good in this. Like it was. There were some faces I was like very appalled by, but it was also very. It's also very great how he's doing the background, so I can like forgive them. Absolutely. So like some of the faces were very forgiving, but big shout out to Alex and Claire, who will be on the show in June. And yeah, big shout out to Travis, guys. He is doing an interview with someone on the creative team from Stray Dogs. So if you guys have been loving that series, definitely head over to TM Nerdy's channel after this or when it's due for that. Because I know that's a very great book, and big congrats to Travis for landing that. Travis is awesome. So go check that out, guys. If you're bored of me, don't be bored of Travis because he's much better at this. Boom.
But basically, I really, really loved how we see panels basically throughout the entire first half of the issue of like Clark doing push-ups and sit-ups and going on long runs and shooting guns and swimming and like carrying a giant log, and everyone's faces like they're sweating profusely and but he's just straight-faced the entire time. Like Miller does a great job making a distinction of like this training is meant to break down the human spirit and body, and it is like Superman doesn't even break a sweat. Like
he's unbreakable.
Exactly, and
he's unbreakable to the nth degree.
I love the gun, and Chad's right. The Kents and that, their old rifle, and I also love the line of like it doesn't even like we talk about guns have kick if you've never fired a gun, but guns basically they jock back, which causes your aim to readjust every time. So you need to re-aim every time. Clark, obviously a small pistol in the hands of oh gosh, but a pistol kicks, but obviously not a lot. And in the hands of Superman, it's not going to kick. So
no, not at all.
Clark is just imagine Clark firing a pistol or any gun. It's like you firing a Nerf gun. Like it doesn't move at all. Oh no, please. Oh God.
But yeah, he has that precise control, and Frank Miller, he did a really great job of like showing what basic training is like, showing how these recruits, they go in kind of like wide-eyed, guppy kind of things, and then they really have to become men. They have to become soldiers. Frank Miller did a great job. He's got this narration thing going on throughout the entire book. I didn't really vibe with it. It was a little bit unnecessary, and it was just like weird. It was this omniscient narrator, but he had a very specific personality going on, and it was so strange.
It was very weird,
Right.
and I will add on to that. Chad's absolutely right. The narrator kind of felt like, if you guys have seen SpongeBob with like the pirate, like in the sense of like, usually an omniscient narrator is usually the omniscient narrator is totally like monotone, no feelings towards the situation, completely objective. Not in this. It felt like Frank Miller talking omnisciently, quite frankly. And then
doesn't really talk.
yeah, exactly. But we obviously all of you have read comics. I don't know, but you have the word bubbles, but the narration is typically in a box, right?
Or
so
it's like on the side, you can do like a little Steranko-esque from like
exactly. So Frank Miller would have a box of the omniscient narrator talking like, Clark Kent ran across this thing with ease, and then within the same panel of Clark running, it would be the same. It would be the same white box, no distinction that anyone else is talking, and it would be like, I barely break a sweat while running. So we would transition between Clark and the omniscient narrator without any indication, which was the most glaring flaw of this entire book. It was really discombobulated.
He picks it up later on. I mean, but in terms of like the boxes, narration boxes had different colors, but that's towards the end of the book. And then with other characters, they're still in that white box, but the font is just a little different. There's Clark's.
Well, the lettering was great. The lettering was fantastic in here.
Yeah, the lettering was good. It was just, I just wish they used different colors to
It was a script problem.
Yeah,
because I guarantee it was a script problem.
And they also used Clark having blue boxes later on in the book, so they should have just had those blue boxes for Clark the entire time, and it was just a little. It was weird, but most of the dialogue was good, and it shows Clark moving up. He's so good, he gets promoted to SEAL training, so he's going to be a Navy SEAL. Which, if you guys don't know, Navy SEAL training is one of the most grueling training programs in the world. It is. They really only take the cream of the cream of the cream, like the top tier operator guys, and they break them down, build them up into killers, into these soldiers. They talk about making Clark a sniper, a spy, a scout, because an infiltrator, because he's just so good, he can do anything. And it really goes to show, like, Superman could be the world's best soldier. He could be the most extreme operator, special ops guy on the face of the planet. And I thought that was a really interesting take on, like, what Superman could be, because you see him being the big boy scout all the time, but you never see him being like a trained killer. So I was really enjoying that kind of like, let's put Superman in the role of a soldier. But then in the middle of the book, things kind of went off the rails a little bit.
He got a little hooker. He got a little girl on the
yeah. So I completely agree with everything Chad said. And I was reading this book, and I wasn't in my house, so I was reading it on my phone. And I was reading it, and I was like, about the first, I'd say this is distinguished into thirds. The first third is he's in basic training. The second third is he's between basic training and the ocean, and the third is completely in the ocean, in Atlantis. So the first third is mad solid. Everything is, the dialogue is great. The situations and the plot is fantastic. I was like, this is Frank Miller. This is like, I was reading this and it brought, I'm not going to say it's Dark Knight Returns or Year One level, but I was like, this is what Frank Miller is capable of, essentially. Right. And it was great. I don't know. I know Chad has, but have you read Superman Earth 1, Brandon, by J. Michael Straczynski? Yes. Yeah. So it reminded me of yeah, absolutely. But it reminded me of Clark, trying out those different jobs. Like he's fantastic at science and he could play pro baseball. Sorry, there's fireworks outside my house. That's what I was checking out earlier. But Clark is a prodigy.
Hey, there's a little bit of a boom in the background. Yeah.
I can hear from my house too, which is funny.
Yes, that's right. But
noise cancellation. All I hear are the cicadas. Just
yeah, it's a lot of cicadas here in New Jersey as well. But for me, it's something I don't like to think about because I always think of Superman and Clark Kent as a humble farm boy who wanted to be a reporter. I don't care about how good he is at science or baseball or whatever, but conceptually it makes sense. So
picking up
I did a review.
Yeah.
So I did a review on Superman Earth 1 a while back, and I was like, I don't like to think of Clark as a prodigy at everything.
Yes.
I like to think of Batman as Batman can do anything. He's the jack of all trades.
Because he's a human who can do other. Who can be more.
Exactly. Whereas Superman is just the humble farm boy who was who's a good person and just wants to do good in the world. But conceptually, yes, I will concede. Yes, absolutely, and I think that's a key tenet of Superman, which has been lost recently, and it's really sad.
Oh, so read Action Comics and you'll get it.
Brandon, I really don't want to talk about this because I don't want to go off. I'm the train, and you're fucking pushing me, and you really want me to go off, but I'm not going to. But anyway,
I'm gonna get yelled at off stream.
But Superman conceptually would be a child prodigy at everything, and I think Miller does a great job of. And actually, I think the greatest example is later in the book when he is forced to make a decision about killing someone, and we see, dude, Clark would want me to do what I want, quite frankly. But basically, Superman has the capabilities to do all these things. He has God, just to bring it back to my favorite series of all time, Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil. When Daredevil's talking to the Punisher and he's like, dude, like, Frank, you are amateur hour. With guns, I could literally be a killing machine. I have no center. I can see all around me at all times. Like, you may be a demon, but I'm the devil. He could be like an ultimate killer. And we see Superman, like, if you think about it, Superman, even with a gun and whatever, could be the ultimate killing machine. He's an invulnerable super soldier with perfect aim. But he chooses his wavering morality is what makes him special.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But we see Superman, where the book starts to kind of fall apart is, we get like fucking 8 pages of like, the sea is calling to me, and then the general's like, calls to you, son.
Jesus Christ, it's like he took it straight from Moana.
It's so weird.
It goes from Clark running on the beach to all of a sudden, like, he stays up at night and his drill sergeant is like, oh, you see the mermaids too, huh? And I'm like, whoa. Like,
if I saw a mermaid, I would go too. But
it came out of nowhere. Like, and for those of you who don't know, I mean, this book is about 70 pages long, so it's the length of like 3 standard comic book issues.
Yeah,
and like it was just like it was like he didn't know how to fill 60 some odd pages of writing, so the mermaids came out of left field, and then it eventually has Clark just fully he ends up leaving basic training and just going into the ocean to hang out with the mermaids in Atlantis.
You remember that Avatar: The Last Airbender episode towards the end, like when that like giant lion turtle called him and he was like running and he left. That's what this reminds me of too.
But the thing is like I could write a 20-issue Superman arc about the pitch, Superman in basic training. I could write 20 issues about that alone.
Do it.
And it feels like Miller. There's other things I'd write about, but the point is I feel like Miller, like, and when he goes to Atlantis, it's when you remember, oh wait, Frank Miller's writing this. Like, current Frank Miller's writing this. And actually, it's even a little before that when he gets on the ship. You realize it's Frank Miller. I do think the ship is a pretty good thing. I think it's what current Frank Miller could do at his best, but you are reminded that it is Frank Miller.
Right.
Superman. And I said this before the show. The thing about this book is it just kind of feels weird. When you read a book and you're like, all right, yeah, this is Superman. He does have this unwavering morality, but it just kind of feels weird. It doesn't really feel like a Superman story. And like we get to basically Superman. He's doing this training, and then basically his class of Navy SEALs gets called. It's like this tanker with oil and
jet fuel.
Yes, exactly. Has been taken over by pirates. So they are sent to eliminate them, essentially. And they get on the ship, and they're going through, and then we see it's Frank Miller. It's Middle Eastern pirates. They're wearing, like the classic, headwear of people in the Middle East.
Off the coast of San Diego.
I know. It's the opposite coast, homie. It's California. Like, it would be more. It's more likely to be Japanese pirates. Oh my God, I'm not. But
and it's
can't avoid it.
Pirates, of course. And it's because Frank Miller, like Ryan, I think you were going to talk about this, right?
Yeah. So Frank Miller had this thing. After 9/11, he completely rewrote The Dark Knight Strikes Again, where the Metropolis is destroyed. He wrote this book in this. It's very much like The Dark Knight Strikes Again. Miller does it in his, and not Dark Knight Strikes or Dark Knight Returns Miller art style, like Dark Knight Strikes Again Miller art style called Holy Terror, which is probably one of the most egregious examples of Islamophobia I've ever seen. Basically, the entire book is about a Batman-esque figure called the Fixer, but like Batman who uses guns, and he's called the Fixer, and he goes over to the Middle East, and essentially the entire book just equates Islam to terrorism. And Frank Miller, obviously I don't know his personal views, but just from what I have seen, Frank Miller is very much a I'm tentative to call him a racist or a xenophobe, but he's very much because I do think that label is thrown out way too liberally now. But I will say Frank Miller does give into the stereotypes very easily. Like, and again, I'm just saying Frank Miller. Do not cancel me. If you see a Muslim in Frank Miller's books, they will be a terrorist or a pirate or whatever. If you see someone who's Jewish, they will be a movie executive, or they will be a banker, or they will be something of that nature. Something where the stereotypes are very much what people are boiled down to stereotypes in this book. And we see off the coast of Sandy fucking Diego is Muslim pirates. 3 words: Sandy fucking Diego.
Sandy fucking Diego.
It's ridiculous. And then we see Frank Miller, like, the Navy SEALs are just like shooting him in the head, and we see blood spattered everywhere and like holes in these guys' heads.
Which, I mean, that is how the Navy SEALs operate. They go in for the headshots, clean in and out.
But I mean, it's Frank Miller, so we see all the violence, and we see the blood, and we see, it's Black Label, so like, and then we basically get to the control room where they've snuck onto the ship successfully. They've taken out all the guards, and then there's basically one terrorist per Navy SEAL, and each of them just are aiming their weapons and like, all right, one shot to the head, and we're done. Right. But Clark, being Superman, and thank God. If Frank Miller had Clark shoot a terrorist in the head, I would have closed the book and I would stop reading there, and I would have said, Brandon, I refuse to read the rest of this book. But thankfully, Frank Miller has Clark not shoot the terrorist in the head. A little weird earlier though, because Clark is like, I kind of want to kill people. And he has that little monologue where it's like killing so thrilling.
I think he says it starts to get a little cold. I thought he was saying he feels like the whole we're gonna make him do a killer thing is like he's not sure how he feels about that, but he still really wants to be a Navy SEAL. So he's not fully embracing the killer part, but he is saying I want to be a Navy SEAL. But I mean, he's got to be smart enough to figure out Navy SEALs kill people it's what they do. I mean, Navy SEALs aren't doing humanitarian things and stuff like that. That's what the Army National Guard does.
He's like, he's like, I feel like this calling to be a Navy SEAL, but then he's like, I'm not sure about the killing thing. It's like I have this calling to be a butcher, but I don't know about the meat thing.
But I'm a vegan, so I don't know.
Comes with the territory here.
It was that like there are cracks in this book. And then after that, once he gets discharged, he's been flirting with this mermaid. He goes and he saves Atlantis. He sneaks out at night and goes into the ocean and saves Atlantis after like a sub fell on Atlantis. Like Atlantis doesn't have any protections against anything because a submarine can just fall on top of the city.
And this is Memorial Day, and I think we should briskly move on through the Atlantis stuff. But basically,
he falls in love with the mermaid.
Well, basically, he falls in love with the mermaid, who happens to be the daughter of Poseidon. Poseidon's like, I'm going to put you through these tests because I fucking hate you. And he beats a kraken. He uses his heat vision. He does a bunch of shit. And this is where we see Frank Miller emerge, because it's wacky, it's wild, it's poorly written, and we also see Poseidon, the god of the sea. There's this weird plot thread that keeps coming up about Poseidon wanting to bang his daughters.
Yeah, he's like, you will take your mother's spot, all of her spots. I'm like,
in every regard. Dude. I'll try to find it.
I mean, guy. Maybe Atlantean culture is just different than ours, and we need to accept it for how it is.
No, but like honestly, and I mean this, I can be forgiving of Frank Miller in like if he mentioned it once, but it's Frank Miller, and he's super into this like Poseidon gives birth to his daughters, and then when they're old enough, they become his lovers and everything. He mentions it like 4 times in like 15 to 30 pages, and it really. He's like, he basically says like, you will and you will take up you will become my queen, and you will take up your mother's responsibilities in every way. And it's like, Frank, and he like explicitly talks about Poseidon banging his daughters.
Right. He should have mentioned it once. He didn't have to mention it a bunch of times, and it's just like,
we get it. He's horny.
We get it.
And it's even more egregious when Poseidon is defeated at the end. He's like, oh, he says, I claim only what is my property. He's talking about his daughters as like property. He's like, I fucking own you. You have no right to just, disown me. Like I own you. You are mine. I'm gonna bang you and make more of you to bang eventually. Like it's Frank Miller, man.
We get it. He's a bad guy. At a certain point, it's just a little excessive. And honestly, I think I could forgive all the weird stuff. But there are no stakes at the end of this, because no matter what happens to Superman, he just shrugs it off. So he's like, literally anything that happens to Superman doesn't affect him at all. So there's no stakes for like you lose interest once after the first challenge that gets thrown Superman's way, because he shrugs all of it off. He is Superman, but like it's at least it's almost like he doesn't even have to learn how to use his powers. Like he doesn't have to like figure out how to fight. It's just, no, I just don't need to try, and there's no stakes in the book. And then you get all that weird stuff on top of it, and it's just this, it's like, okay, you had us in the first third, you did a really good job representing like basic training in the Navy and in the Navy SEALs, and then like the second half is just, whoa.
It was really weird, and Chad's absolutely right. There was no stakes, because number one, Superman doesn't face any, like, every time Superman's just like, and he like walks on and he moves on, whatever. Like he's not even scared for a second. Even this like giant kraken.
Superman versus Darth Vader, guys. Who would win?
Superman wins
I would go
every day of the week. Superman could snap Darth Vader's lightsaber in half.
I mean, yeah, he has the high ground, of course.
That is true.
That is. But
he always has the high ground. He can fly.
And even beyond that, with the stakes, we know there's no stakes because we know, like, I don't know Frank Miller personally, but this is a Superman origin story. We know he's not going to settle down, become the king of Atlantis, and have children with this mermaid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past Frank Miller, but that's not what Frank Miller
wants to. But
yeah, like Frank Miller clearly wants to have Superman bang a mermaid multiple times and have mermaid cest. But like, we know Superman is going to become a reporter at the Daily Planet. We know he's going to be best buddies with Jimmy Olsen. We know he's going to get together with Lois Lane or Wonder Woman or whoever. And we know there's going to be a status quo because actually this book is set in Frank Miller's universe. So the Superman in The Dark Knight Returns, the Superman in All-Star Batman and Robin, that's this Superman. So we know he's like that in those books. So
that makes a lot of sense, though, considering who Superman is in The Dark Knight Returns. Right. Like he is that big blue government agent kind of guy. So it makes sense that he tried to serve his country. I didn't actually know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it is a great origin story for that interpretation of the character.
Yeah.
Right. They just should have cut down 20 pages and it would be a great story.
Like Superman fighting Poseidon and becoming the king of Atlantis. That's a cool origin story for Aquaman, but not a cool origin story for Superman. It was
it was like a little bit too much. Like it was the point where if you just kept it as what it should be, Superman joins the Navy. Right, because that's really what we know the book for. Not Superman fights his way through Poseidon to bang his daughters. No, I guess that's just me. I was thinking of a way to say this. I was not sounding like so out there, but I'm like, yeah, I'm not just gonna say it. I'm just not gonna say it at all.
Brandon, your reaction, that little thing there sums up the entire book. Exactly. Like this entire book can be summed up with this. Like the like that is this book.
Yeah.
Like, so that leads us to the third part of our segment, Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame. Thank you to everybody tuning in. Before we get to our picks, don't go anywhere. Right, because I do have another announcement that I do want to throw in. I didn't mention this earlier, but Creators Corner, the interview show that you guys all love and that I love too, probably just as much as you guys, it's officially 1 year old today.
Yes.
And I knew that because we used to do that over on Instagram. And I got a little notification today saying 1 year ago, your interview was with Alex Sinclair, and he will be back on the show on June 19th. But it's been 1 year. It has been 1 year since Creators Corner. So wow, that was a great surprise today. So thank you to everybody for your continued support. Dude. It's so amazing to see that 1 year later, Bob Layton will be on the show.
Yeah,
Bob Layton, Will Spertasio, and just like all the creators, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Michael Conroy, Becky Clune, Marcus Toe, they're all phenomenal people that I've gotten the chance to talk to in the past month. Wow, that's the past month. So thank you guys so much for that. I just wanted to give that a quick little shout before we got into our voting. And I do want to give Ryan and Chad the floor to talk about their platform and let you guys know where to find them and what they're doing. But don't go anywhere because we're going to vote on which one's in the Hall of Fame, which one's on the Hall of Shame.
All right, Chad, you want to talk about what just happened and I'll talk about what's coming up?
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Ryan and I have our own comic book YouTube channel. We have a show called Wednesday Warriors where we kind of talk about our current picks and what we do. Today, we actually dropped a brand new video for a new series we're doing called Wednesday Winners, where we pick our favorite issues from the last month. So we pick a favorite from DC, a favorite from Marvel, and a favorite indie book. Ryan picks his favorites. I pick my favorites. We don't show each other what they are in advance, so that way we can have live reactions on the show about our own picks. So there are a couple of picks. So if you guys don't, you guys, and also there were some ties too, because it's hard to pick good books. Because there have been some good stuff in May. So if you guys want to see what books you should be reading, ongoing series wise, check out our latest video, Wednesday Winners, on our channel, Ryan and Chad.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to also mention it, Chad just dropped a review. We had it highly requested on Kingdom Come. I'm sure he could speak to it better than I can, but I watched it myself, even though, I'm half of the channel. I watched it and it was absolutely fantastic. Just some stuff coming up. We already have it scheduled, recorded, whatever. We are going to be reviewing Volume 1, which is the first the oversized hardcover, the first 12 issues of Donny Cates' Venom run. And we love that book, so that review is going to be awesome. Wednesday Warriors coming out on Wednesday. I see some of the people who comment on the videos in the chat now, and you guys seem to really be loving the show, and we're super thankful for that. I have a review coming this weekend along with the Venom on Thor the God Butcher. Thor Love and Thunder is coming up, so I want to talk about Jason Aaron's Thor, and we just have a lot of cool stuff coming up. Some Daredevil stuff, some Batman by Scott Snyder stuff. So a lot of that coming up. So definitely subscribe, turn post notifications on, just so you don't miss any video, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And while I'm here, definitely, I'm sure everyone in the chat is, but if you're catching it on the replay, definitely subscribe to Brandon. I watch all his videos, and they're just absolutely fantastic. I've seen him grow, not only in terms as a person, but his quality of videos. And I'm not saying that your old ones were bad, but I'm just saying you just keep getting better and better, and it really is fantastic to see.
Thank you.
And thank you for having us on. Seriously,
thank you so much, man.
Become one of the highlights of my week,
dude. Yeah, this show is awesome. All the shows that I like to put out literally just mean a lot to me. Ryan and Chad are great people that I've met along the way. I know Ryan started it from day one, and then Chad came on a little bit later. But it was great to see Ryan start his YouTube channel shortly after us getting to know each other, and then just collabing every week just to put out to talk about something we all love. So it's fantastic. Now, for what everyone is here for, Hall of Fame or Hall of Shame. Boom, we're gonna segue right into that. Who wants to go first?
All
Chad.
right. Yeah, Chad, go for it.
So, I think that I definitely have to go with the Amazing Spider-Man issue today. It was more solidly paced. It was more personal. I felt more connected to Flash Thompson. Whereas in Superman, year one, I didn't really feel connected to Clark Kent as a person. I knew he wanted to be a SEAL, and I knew he was mermaid horny, but that were the only two things I knew about Clark Kent. Whereas with Flash,
aren't we all? I mean, when Comic-Con's around.
We move.
Hey, man, you hear that call? Nature calls. Anyway,
the mating call.
So I'm gonna have to give it to the Amazing Spider-Man today, just because it was I felt more connected to the story. The action was much better. There were actual stakes in it, and I felt connected to all the characters as well. So Amazing Spider-Man, hands down for me.
Boom. Ryan, what about you, man?
So, yes, I know I usually pick the controversial one, and I don't do it just for controversy. I do actually I always prefer the one I pick, even controversial or not. But I will go with the Amazing.
Where this is. Okay.
But I do like the Amazing Spider-Man 574. But I will say, credit where credit's due. That first third of Superman Year One by Frank Miller, I think, is probably his best modern stuff he's done. Post 2000, I'd say.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, I agree. That was good.
I think if you look at his entire bibliography of everything he's done post 2000, like the fact that I can say this is actually readable, and when I mention Frank Miller post 2000 is a shock. But seriously, ASM 574 is exactly what a Memorial Day issue should be.
Right.
It honors those who served in it rides the line between being in continuity and still in the Marvel universe, but also the standalone story that really is there to honor those who have served and who have fallen in the line of duty. And using a beloved character like Flash Thompson to illustrate why we really need to thank those veterans, showing war in a realistic manner. It's fantastic. And in the words of Eddie Brock, Flash was a badass Venom. So,
right. Well, we haven't gotten there yet. Before this issue, we'll get there. I believe he becomes Venom, Agent Venom. He gets merged with the Symbiote, I believe, 10 issues later. So
we get Rick Remender's Venom. But yeah, Eddie said it, Flash was a badass Venom. So
right, 100%. I'm going the same way with you guys, so it's a unanimous vote, as it never is. But that's that. Boom, that's it. 574 is the winner of today's Hall of Shame, Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame. And that is it for this video. Once again, this is Brandon, Ryan, and Chad coming at you guys from now on every Monday. So maybe 8 p.m. Eastern time. Next theme we will get back to you guys at. We like to kind of keep it a surprise with ourselves until like a few days before. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. Have a great day. Happy Memorial Day to everyone. Stay safe. Ryan, what are you doing? We're not out.